think back, you know, as a kid, I always wanted to be in the woods. I always wanted to make camps. It's always been there. The place which has always been in the back of my mind is the Yukon territory. About 500 kilometers, but it's pure wilderness. There's no roads, there's no people, there's no infrastructure. There is literally nothing but raw nature. You've got to be 3 moves ahead all the time, especially when you're on the river. You're by yourself, you only get 1 shot at whatever you're doing. I'm going to be negotiating rapids, setting up camp, I'm going to be fishing, chopping wood, brutal portaging, carrying all my equipment. There's bears. Weather, the river. If I fall and break my ankle, 500 kilometers away from rescue. It's what I personally get back from putting myself in difficult, uncomfortable situations. It's that feeling of accomplishment afterwards, which lasts a lifetime. That's powerful.
All right. Well, it's good to see you again. Been a while since we talked.
Yeah, likewise. What's been happening?
Yeah, well, I was looking at your arrival schedule, Dan, and the float plane. I didn't think that was going to be enough time for you to prepare yourself. Were you able to reach out to the float company and make that change?
Yes. Good news. They've managed to push it back to the 17th. So hopefully that gives us enough time, Peter, to get up to the cabin and things and do a bit of last minute admin.
Yeah, should be fine. I was just a little concerned, if things don't go quite as expected and another day or 2 for supplies and there goes the plane without you, and then it's it's all out the window.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. That's good to hear.
Yeah. All good. Doing his around here.
So I had a look at that supply list that you sent me, and yeah, it looks pretty comprehensive. Some of those things you don't have to worry about bringing with you, space and baggage being a priority. So I'll be able to supply a lot of that stuff for you. And then the next day or 2, I'll just send you a checklist of I got this. Don't worry about that. So you can pare down on some of that transport over, Dan.
Brilliant. Oh, that'll make a massive difference in the weight and things, especially things like axes and stuff like that. I'm sure you've got an armory of axes out there.
Big, small, and splitting, whatever you need, Dan.
Brilliant. Awesome. No, that's good. Plenty of bear spray.
Sorry?
And plenty of bear spray.
Oh, bear spray. Well, yes, I do have it, and every paddler in the Yukon wilderness should have it, because you are going into the wilderness, Dan, and that's where they live. You're going to be on their territory, and of all the paddlers that are in the Yukon, there are encounters, of course. They're few and far between, but there's no reason not to encounter one. And, so bear spray, it's not going to be your first line of defense. Your first line of defense is going to be distance. So I'm thinking for the most part, Dan, you're going to be, paddling at a good speed down the river, and any self-respecting bear is not going to chase you down in a craft down the river. But when you do pull ashore for the night, and your back is turned to the woods, and you're busy getting your camp ready, there may be a surprise encounter. So really, I think bear encounters fall into 2 categories: is surprise and stalking. So surprise, it's unexpected, and they see you as a threat. If there are cubs around. Or likely as well, if they've taken down a large animal like a moose or a caribou, and they want to protect that, they don't want you near that. So they will often bluff and charge and get you away from there. The second scenario is stalking, where an older, injured, wounded, emaciated bear has difficulty hunting, and sees you as an easy target, and that's a completely different situation, which you want to avoid as much as possible. So having a bear spray, Dan, on your hip or your chest when you're on shore is going to be your first line of defense. If it's a surprise encounter, generally they're going to head one way. You're gonna take off the other direction, and that will be that.
Yeah.
Um, the cases where you're sleeping in your tent and the bear stumbles upon your campsite because it's just in his territory, then he might investigate, and your best line of defense there, Dan, your best line of defense is going to be keep any attractants out of your tent. They call it camp hygiene, and
Yeah.
food and anything that will smell attractive to a bear should be, oh, I don't know, 100 meters downstream, and where you're cooking as well. At nighttime, pull it up with a rope into a tree, and you should be good. But if you do have an encounter where you need to take action, I got the bear spray, and we'll set you up for some other options as well.
Brilliant. Brilliant. No, that's great, Peter. Great advice. Always good to hear from the horse's mouth, and if in doubt, seek local knowledge.
Well, I've had a few encounters myself, and they've all gone roughly as we've described. Surprise encounters, and none of us really wants to be there. So, and all's well that ends well.
Would you say the bears up in that area where I'm going are less used to humans compared to, let's say, on the Yukon River?
Yeah, there's certainly going to be less traffic up there, and even the bears that we have in town here, they're quite habituated. And if they see people, it's like, okay, where's your garbage can, fella? Because I want your lunch, and they're not afraid of people. On the Yukon River, it's not the same, but they do have opportunity to see more paddlers. Up in the Hess, you're likely to be the first human that they've seen. They don't really want anything to do with you. So the ones that we have around, that we've had around our cabin, have, a little bit habituated, so they're not, they're not too afraid. So dissuasive measures sometimes help.
Yeah, and wolves aren't a problem.
You'd be very fortunate to see a wolf. I don't think you should fear it. Summertime, there's food aplenty. You're likely not going to be a food source for a wolf at that time of year. If you happen to see wolves, Dan, take out your camera, because it's a magical encounter.
Mm-hmm. I can't wait. I'm counting down the days. So,
looking forward to, if we get out of here in reasonably good order, and out of Whitehorse, I mean, and we get to spend a day or two at the cabin, at the base camp, sort of acclimatizing to the remoteness of it all. It's quite a different feeling than paddling down a river where there's bridges every kilometer and a petrol station where you can get whatever. So it would be good to spend a day or two getting into that mindset of, there's not a lot of people here, and where I'm going, there's even less. And so just acclimatizing to that. Looking forward to having you at the cabin. It's off grid, just so you know, and on a lake. So we'll be able to fish for pike if you're interested in that, and that'll keep Rowan entertained for sure. And I'm sure you'll get a big charge out of that as well. So even the time at the cabin is going to be magical.
I can't wait. I cannot wait. Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, I think you're right though. Getting used to it just for a day. Just getting up there and just sort of soaking it all in of that pure remoteness.
Right. If we have that time, so the local First Nation, the chief's name is Donna Hope, and I'm going to reach out to her and see if she would agree to a send-off ceremony or a safe travel or welcome to our land ceremony of some kind. It's not their usual procedure that paddlers ask for, but I think she might be, touched and honored that you would be asking permission to travel through their traditional territory. But I think that would be a nice piece to add to this whole journey.
That would be magical. If that would be amazing. Just like you say, to get that sort of kind of rite of passage, before you go into these sacred lands, to almost be given permission, by the First Nations is
right.
Stuff we read about and say, Yeah, that would be amazing.
Yeah, well, that's that's living it, and it's a reality that they had paddled those rivers long before Dan Smith had come along. So
Yeah, absolutely. And is it true that they leave tobacco as a sort of good luck gift?
So tobacco is more an Eastern, like Ontario First Nations affair, and it may have been transplanted here. I know, somewhat there is something when animals are harvested that a little gift of tobacco is left in their mouth, and I'm not exactly sure what that all entails. Of course, tobacco originated down east where it grows. There's no tobacco growing here, but it may have been a transplanted system as far as I know, or the fur traders when they came through in the 1700s, they would have brought tobacco, and they may have seen the significance of that and incorporated into their culture. So all really I can say on that. I'm not sure.
Well, they might the First Nation guys up in that area where I'm going, they might have their own tradition of, I don't know, honoring the gods or whatever. But that'll be interesting to find out more about those guys.
It's talking to my buddy who I grew up with, and he spent time on the Beaver River, which flows into the Stewart, and he talks about some of the hunting camps that are there, that are, people will still use them. So there's a good chance you may run into a family that's there for the summer. And
Right.
if you just want to think about some kind of a gift to leave them, like you said, maybe a little tobacco, or something from Berwick on Tweed, or wherever where you're from, it might be just a small little gesture. If you come across somebody's camp and they invite you in, it would be nice to leave a gift.
Good to know. Yeah.
We'll keep in touch.
Yeah. Cheers, Peter.
Okay. Yep. Stay dry, man.
Cheers, man. See you later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.